We turn these on.
No, I don't need to turn those on for this tonight. Barb actually likes the Zoom recording to do the minutes from over these still.
Excellent job.
All right. So we are live. And as soon as I hit record, we are recording. Terry, can you hear us?
I can.
All right, we can hear you. And are you taking my minutes tonight?
Yes.
Okay. In that case, I got 7 o'clock
Okay.
and we're all here. So let's call this October 21st Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Roll call.
Miss McCreary,
Present.
Mr. Looney,
Here.
Mr. Mager,
Here.
Miss Williamson.
Here.
I'm here as well.
I gotcha.
And obviously Terry is online. We've got a couple of persons in the room for our business tonight and at least one caller online, it looks like. But before we get to them, we will go ahead and see if there is approval of the minutes from the September 9th, 2021 public hearing.
I didn't remember that.
Or that wasn't a public hearing. That was just a regular meeting.
Yes, okay.
The minutes looked accurate though.
Yes.
I read through them, did not see any issue at all with myself.
I would second that as well.
All right, motion on Mager, second on McCreary to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Unanimous vote. All right. Moving on then. First is visitors. So I will ask, is there anybody here that is a visitor for something other than the 2 lot splits we have on the agenda tonight to discuss? And I'm in particular to the person on the Zoom call.
No, I'm here for the lot.
Okay. In that case, I'll give a quick update on old business. Short-term rental ordinance is set for a council public hearing on November 15th, as is the lot coverage. So they've been through 2 readings, tabled at a 3rd reading so that we could get the notice in the public hearing set. So those will be November 15th upstairs in the Opera House. And then that gets us to new business. We've got a lot on there, but the first 2 things we have tonight would be 2 lot splits. And we haven't had a lot. These are, Terry and I were talking, it's interesting because we haven't had a lot split in 6 years that I've been here and Terry's been here. And then we get 2 at one time. So our subdivision regs say that Terry can approve those with engineering approval if there's nothing out of the norm, but because we haven't had one in 6 years, it also allows for the referral from the zoning administrator to the planning commission to review and make any recommendations and approve or deny any lot splits. And so since these are the first ones we've had in at least 6 years, we thought that was the most prudent course of action. And so we have 2 of them on the agenda tonight. And the first one on the agenda is listed as the Woods lot split. So everybody should have their package from that. Again, just today, the engineering office got back to us with their review. Had they not got back to us yet, we still could have had the meeting and heard from everybody tonight on it. But we do have to get the engineering feedback on it. It came back late, so sorry about that, but we have that. So with that, I would invite Mr. Woods up to the podium to tell us about his proposed lot split. And then we'll proceed kind of like we would in a variance procedure. We can ask him questions, and then if anybody else wants to give us information on any of these, we will hear that. The commission does not need to make a decision tonight, though you can if you want to, similar to the variance process. So with that, Roger?
Okay, I'm here to request a lot split from Mr. Keck. I'm wanting to buy about 5 acres from him. And I read all the regulations, and it looks like we followed everything that we were supposed to. So I guess that's my request.
So Terry, what, since we're kind of going like the variance, what, can you give us the zoning administrator side of the split overview?
Sure. I agree with Brian's analysis of what he did. I looked at all of the, and this before us tonight is just a request for a lot split and nothing else. So I also been in contact with the attorney that drew up this lot split, because I had a question before about the parcels and the amount that's in that. I am now satisfied with the way that it's laid out. I think it meets all of our requirements. I know it meets all of our requirements. I want to refer you to the comment section of Mr. Coughlin's report. He has a couple of recommendations he would like to see attached to, or he suggests that we attach to this approval. And that would be a recommendation that the setback lines in accordance with 1250.04 be added to the survey drawing for both lots. And then he would recommend that the surveyor himself confirms that the 2.147 acres meets the maximum depth to width ratio. And then the last thing it is that he recommends that the remaining parcels, the remaining parcel, as well as Mr. Wood's parcel, be combined into one parcel and not into separate ones. The land that Mr. Woods is purchasing is in two different sections, two different sections of two different parcels. So the engineer is saying it would be best if we could clean that up and make sure that the remaining parcel that Mr. Keck keeps and the new parcel that Mr. Woods is purchasing are one entire parcel and not separate.
And Terry, just for confirmation, then the recommendation for the setbacks, that is because this is an R1 district and those are just the setbacks for the R1, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did what she said make sense to you, Roger?
I'm with her.
And just so you don't currently own this property. Mr. Keck owns this property. I guess my first question is, Mr. Keck, obviously, are you okay with this lot split? Because it's kind of odd that we have a lot split from someone that doesn't own it yet, but I kind of understand what's going on. So,
Yeah.
Okay. I figured you would be, or else we wouldn't be here, but that way, at least now it's on the record.
Now, I am a little curious here, I've read through everything several times. We understand that this was originally one parcel that was Mr. Keck's, all the way from the east of your house, all the way over to Mr. King's property. Is that correct?
Right.
So basically, it's like about 60% then would be sold to Mr. Woods.
Right.
Okay. So then when we talk about combining the two sections, that refers to the north and south section,
Correct.
each property, because if we split this way, it'd actually be 4 separate parcels. Split odd ways. Well, it'd be 1 parcel, well, it'd be 2 parcels, split odd ways to make 4. Then you're gonna recombine them just the opposite orientation, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
And Terry, with the recommendation to confirm that it meets our depth and width ratio, in an R1, depth to width ratio, minimum's a 1-to-1 and a maximum is a 3-to-1.
That's correct.
Is that, I guess, what did you have any conversation with them about what their concern was there? Because it seems to be a little bit of a longer plat than it is wide when it gets reconfigured.
Correct. No, his concern, no, he just said that he feels as though that the surveyor should confirm that ratio is what the residential district calls out.
All right, because the road side of it is 285.5 feet. And it's 668 feet. Well, 700 feet on the other side, 717 feet.
Yeah, it's still within the 3-to-1 though.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are just recommendations. Committee can choose to not do it if they feel as though they feel comfortable that he is meeting those ratios.
Yeah. No floodplain. What other questions does the committee have?
What effect does the easement for the pipeline have on the use of this parcel?
A third of the land is easement, 2/3 is not.
So the third that's the easement that you
You can't build on it.
You
but
can't build over it.
You can use it as a yard. You can use it a lot of different ways, but you just can't build on it. You still own it, but the electric company has the right to go on and maintain their equipment.
and the gas line underneath of it, obviously. as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so it can be used for agriculture.
Agriculture, yard, you just can't put a building on it. So, you can put a temporary building on it, but you can't put a building that's got a foundation
Within those easement lines.
within easements, right?
And you cannot put a road across it.
Yes, you can.
Oh, I didn't consider agriculture or yard a road. So you are allowed to put a road across it?
Because a road you could tear up to get to just look at our nicely new paved streets that they tear up.
Okay. So there are no guidelines as far as the surface of the road. It can be any type of surface.
Well, if a road were to go in there, it would have to comply with our provisions for roads for whatever was going back there.
Okay,
That is correct.
so it couldn't be gravel because we have no dust.
Right.
So it'd have to be blacktop or concrete. And when you're using the land where their easement is, do you have to get their approval? Or can you just do as you wish? Terry, do you know anything about that?
No, I don't. To be truthful with you.
I think with the easement, the way those are, you could do what you want, but if
Yes.
they come in and you got a building there and they need in there, they're going to do what they need to
Yep.
do to maintain their stuff. Just like if it's a roadway and they need in there, they're going to come in and cut into it.
So anything you put over their easement, you have to be willing to forfeit to their use. Am I correct?
Yeah, you have to,
Yes, basically.
yeah, there's a recognition that if you put something there and they need in there, they're going to tear it down or cut into it to,
So you would forfeit it.
right.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to use the word forfeit because you're not giving anything up. I mean, I guess if you put a temporary building there and they tear it down, you're losing that building,
Okay.
but
You're not forfeiting the land, you're forfeiting
correct.
what you've used their property for.
I worked for the power company for 40 years, and these are some problems that we had with easements.
Thank you, Robert.
But that's what people do with easements. But those can be readily removed.
I think I know where these places are at.
I think so.
So, all right. Do you have any more questions for Roger at the moment on this?
I guess like if we were to approve this like with these comments, what happens if it doesn't meet the ratio then?
I think I'd rather wait and have the ratio approval.
I would, so because it's a lot combination or a lot split, it's actually a split and then a recombination, it would kind of have mixed into it a variance grant, because we would be approving, even though it kind of bypasses the BZA, we would be approving the formation of a new lot that doesn't conform with our existing ratios. So if it were outside the village and then being split and combined and brought in at the same time, that's just how it would be brought in as a non-conforming. In this case, it would, like I said, kind of be like a variance, because we would be allowing the creation of a non-conforming lot. I guess and I'm just not necessarily with this lot, but thinking out loud as we start to go out that direction a little bit, it might be something we want to look at, because it's entirely possible we end up with lots similar to this, or even, the same road frontage, 300 feet road frontage, but there's nothing that says there's not going to be a lot there that doesn't go back 1,500 feet and is very deep because of all the available farm field as we go out further that direction. And so that is something to consider on our depth ratios when we look at that. That, we run the risk of creating issues for ourselves by not evaluating that now in preparation of future lots coming in. I think it makes, our 3-to-1 ratio, our 1-to-1 and minimum 3-to-1 ratio makes sense in a residential centered area, inside the population center. But we should probably look at, as a committee, some of those ratios as we start to get interest from persons wanting to bring parcels into the village that are going to be very long because they have available open space behind them.
Well, if we approve this, can we approve it with the conditions that we follow the recommendations of the engineer?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you can. My question back would be, what would you want to do? I mean, the comments, at least from my perspective, the setbacks are being R1s. That's already in there. It's a residential going to be an R1. That's kind of a given. But I get why the engineering company wants the clarification there. We've already got water and sewer available. So we're there. There's no floodplain impact, so we're good. So that leaves us with the depth ratio, and then combining. It sounds like the plan is already to combine them back, so I don't think that's an issue to say, yes, we want it, combined within so many months. I would ask this committee, council would probably have to approve it because a lot combination has a fee. But if we're talking about a split and then a recombination, I would probably ask this committee to waive that fee for that recombination because it's part of the recommendation for the split to help us get everything cleaned up.
I would agree.
But maybe make the recommendation that gets done within so many months. The big one is, what if it doesn't meet? What if it exceeds the maximum depth to width ratio? What would this committee, what would you want to do?
Well, I mean, going off these measurements here, Mr. Woods's section of it would fall within that ratio. Now, I'm not sure the frontage here on Mr. Keck's property. His would probably be slightly over the 3-to-1 ratio. But I don't have a measurement there, just the rear measurement. Seems to me if we're approving it as a lot split, we're basically granting the variance at the same time by approving it.
Mhm.
I mean, isn't that true?
Yeah.
Yes, I would say.
So I don't see where that would be a separate issue.
So then. So it would just be a recognition that if it exceeds the maximum depth to width ratio, if I'm understanding you right, it's just a recognition that is a permissible non-conforming ratio at that point.
Right.
Okay.
I guess I would rather comply with the recommendations before we make a decision, and then we don't have muddy water. So that's but we can vote on that and decide.
Let me ask. Okay. Is anything you're potentially doing contingent on how quickly or slowly a decision is made?
It's got corn in it now.
Okay. So if this committee tentatively approved it, subject to confirmation that the maximum depth to width ratio conformed, it's not any issue?
Not with me, it might be with Mr. Keck.
Mr. Keck, you want to come up and is that an issue? You want to step on up here?
Mercy.
Not really? Okay. So, because what the committee could do then is make the tentative approval subject to that. And then if Terry gets the confirmation back, or even just, calls the surveyor and says, I just need to confirm this, send it to me an email and gets it back, you can make the tentative recommendation to do that. And then she gets it back and it's okay. And then she can finish the paperwork. We would only have to reconvene on it if the surveyor says, no, it will in fact exceed your recommendation. But that way, if it does come back is like the quick math kind of indicates it might, then Terry can just finish the paperwork and these two can continue on with their splits and reconfiguring, because after it leaves here, it'll have some work at the auditor's office and combination and more work at the auditor's office. Does that make sense?
Can I ask a question?
All right, who's on the line?
My name's Annette. I was just kind of curious because I'm just now kind of seeing this and that's why I decided to join into the meeting just to kind of see with me living, of course, in the area of this. With the split and everything, because I know it's an open field with the wooded lot and everything. I mean, does it plan on, is it just sectioning that you guys are kind of planning on, or you guys doing the sectioning because is there plans with this plot with the wooded that's out on by 256, like the bigger, the section 24? I mean, is there plans or something brewing with that, or is it going to stay the same? I was just kind of curious about that aspect.
Just for clarification, what are you an adjoining property owner?
I am. I'm on the side of it.
You're on which side? Because I'm looking, which side are you on?
I'm on. I'm off of I live on 256. I'm on East Market Street here. So I am actually the 0.261 acres that's on the very corner side of section 24 that meets up to 256.
The 0.26 acres. Let me find that one.
Yeah. Looks like my
What is the
survey
address? What is the
It's
address?
609. It's
I'm sorry.
609.
Thank you.
609. Yes, ma'am.
Zero 0.26 acres.
Yep. 0.261 is what it shows on the paper.
Regardless of her location, she's allowed to be part of the discussion. I guess the question is,
Mhm.
is she allowed to ask the question that she's asking?
I mean, it's
It's not what we're deciding.
it's not what we're deciding, and it's not truly a public hearing because we don't have a public hearing on this.
There's no
But-
change to the zoning on the table.
No,
So it's zoned as R1 right now, I think, right?
It's zoned as R1.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
there was a confusion on the front page about that.
Well, yeah, because it's current. It's being used as agricultural right now, but it's zoned as an
R1.
R1. I'm sorry, ma'am. I had a hard time catching your name again, and I'm looking on the plat book where I'm trying to find where you're
Annette
at.
Rary. Yes, my name's Annette, last name Rary.
It looks like, Mayor, it's a very narrow piece of land between
Mhm.
the highlighted parcel we're talking about and Mr. King's property.
Yes.
Yes, I'm the one on the opposite side of Mr. King between the lots.
If you look
Okay.
at plat of survey,
Yeah, I'm literally I'm on 256, my address.
Okay, I see it now. There's the 0.661 acres. I got you
Yes.
now. Okay.
Yeah. My little
Okay.
thing there.
Okay. And so what was your question again here?
Because like I said, I'm just now kind of seeing all this and kind of looking and getting involved. So I was just kind of curious. I mean, with you guys splitting or whatever you guys are planning, like, is there more being thought into this lot, or is it going to stay the same and it's still just going to be that open, kind of like wooded, like she's saying, like lot? Is it going to stay the same, or is there plans that's going to be happening with this? Or I was just kind of curious of the random idea of even why this is really even happening, like with the splitting, or even wanting to, like, of why it's being messed with now, basically.
The farmer's got a contract on it to put corn in it, so Looks like it's gonna be corn for a while.
Did you catch that?
No, I'm sorry. It was very faint. I apologize.
That's it. Mr. Wood said that
There's no plans to do anything.
Oh, no. Okay.
yeah, he said currently there's a contract for the farmer to keep corn. But it is an R1, so you could put a home on there subject to
Mhm.
these, which doesn't give you a whole lot of room, but
No, it'd be tough.
yeah,
Tiny
Gotcha.
house.
yeah. Tiny
Gotcha.
home.
So they plan on just basically so keeping it open the way it is, but using it still for agricultural stuff, basically, just for crops or whatever they plan on doing.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Woods or Mr. Keck? If not, like I said, the committee, you can take it under advisement, you can agree to it, or you can agree to it with any number of recommendations that you guys see fit.
I guess in my opinion, I think that probably like 1, 3, 4, and 5 comments number 1, 3, 4, and 5 would be good to say, yeah, let's do this. Whether it meets the max with the depth ratio probably wouldn't change my VA or an A on it, I guess. So if we said it has to come back and they have to meet all of these comments, and then it doesn't meet number 2, if we have to, like, I wouldn't want to just go through all this again.
So that sounds like you, whether it meets it or not, you're okay with this split, recognizing that it might not conform to our width to depth ratio once it's split and recombined.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be nice if we had a better measurement on Mr. Keck's finished property, because my rough math says it's going to be slightly over the 3-to-1.
What's slightly over?
Well, I'm guessing because it's an odd shape, but I couldn't get a measurement on the east side of it. I couldn't find that on the print that added up. So I was hoping for a measurement both of them combined and find an average. But
It's 595 feet.
that was on the west side.
Oh,
On the east side, I was trying to find that measurement. I didn't see it.
Well, this could be over here, right? That's Kevin's,
yeah, it's,
that's the other Kevin, Scott. Scott lives beside him. Used to be Butch,
Right.
same property. That's 595. 09.
I come up with, I was trying to come up with a rough average. I come up with about 3.3 approximately to 1 ratio. But again, I was kind of guessing on that, on the average there.
I guess what I'd like to inject is, okay, if it is just a little bit off, is that all that bad?
Well, what I'm getting at is, I don't see where it's an issue
Right.
personally. But if that is on the books, we need to heed that recommendation. But I personally don't see a problem with it. But it seems to me if we do approve it, we're basically granting permission for it to be
And not,
It's not
A precedent.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I personally would recommend that we approve it. But I agree with Mr. Looney here with adhering with the comments from the engineer, with number 2 maybe being the outlier, because that would be the ratio. But if we were to approve it with the comments of 1, 3, 4, and 5, I think that'd be a safe way of doing it.
So would you be opposed to saying though, if once the widths and depths are confirmed, if the surveyor confirms that it is within the max depth to width ratio to Terry, basically giving it a conditional approval to go ahead, if it comes back confirmed, she can go ahead and complete the paperwork for them, and only if it is not within that standard, do we then have to come back and go from there to approve that variance? And if that's the case, I'd again ask that, obviously we don't want to charge them anymore for that because we're creating it. I think at that point we would just move this over to kind of have our other BZA member present to approve that type of a variance. But if it comes back okay, again, just letting Terry go ahead and complete the paperwork so that it can be done.
I would be fine with that.
I'm not even sure we need to put that in there. Seems to me if we recommend approval on it, with those 4 out of the 5 conditions, and just acknowledge that it might be over, but since we're approving it and recommending that they turn the splits around.
So you're recommending approving with the comments, but with the note that if it is slightly out of the max depth to width ratio, that it just be approved anyway, without that comment.
Yes, because we are asking them to recombine the lots in the opposite
Direction.
configuration. So we're basically creating that, because if Mr. Keck were to keep those 2 separate lots right there, it wouldn't be an issue, according to my math.
Okay.
Do we need to come up with a figure plus or minus in talking about, we keep saying small.
You don't have to, but you could. I mean, you could say if it 3 1/4, 3 1/3, 3 1/2, 4 to 1. If you want to come up with that, as long as it does not exceed this number, yeah.
I don't know, is that too much trouble, you think? That obviously there's gonna be a slight difference in sense.
Right. Now, if we didn't require him to recombine Mr. Keck's lot, it wouldn't be an issue. Math wise, he's well within the tolerance end.
So we're by
Yeah.
requiring them to reconfigure and combine them going the other way, we are creating
Yes.
the nonconformity.
Right. And that's the reason why I'm looking at it that way.
When you put it like that, again, I don't see a problem with it anyway, because I think it's something we need to look at in the future, because this,
And it's unique shape.
well, and I think this is just the start of lots coming out that direction that may start to come in that are going to be longer than they are wider, and we were going to have depth problems.
And, mind you, I have noticed not in the communities around us, but in many of the rural lots that have been built with these very large homes, there's a lot of very long, very narrow lots with large houses at the rear that would far exceed that 3 to 1 ratio.
Yes. Well, and now that you say that, I am remembering, and hopefully he doesn't get too mad at me for saying this. So we recently approved some stuff for Mr. King, because he's got 2 lots that we're going to have combined because of that accessory structure.
Right.
And that second lot is very long. And it's probably going to exceed our 3 to 1 depth.
Yep.
Water under the bridge, we can't bring that one back, but it's just, like I said, it's an issue I think this committee needs to look at as we start to look at some of those lots out that direction. But as far as this lot, I'm with you, Mr. Mauger. Approve it. There might be a slight variation if you want to set a maximum. variation tolerance. I don't think it's going to be very much, and we're creating the issue. So as long as we're complying with the setback requirements, number 1, and we have the requirement to reconfigure them, number 5.
Yeah, I don't think we really need to put the plus or minus tolerance here, since we are basically creating this issue by requiring the combining of the lots.
I agree, and the lots aren't gonna get bigger or smaller, so they're.
I agree.
They are.
Listen to the conversations.
Does someone have a motion then?
I would make the motion. I'm gonna let you make it legally, so.
Well, what's your motion, and then we'll clarify it.
My motion would be that we approve the lot split as requested here, with the condition that they follow the engineer's recommendations of numbers 1, 3, 4, and 5.
All right, and just for the record,
What about 2?
Well, number 2 would be the 3-to-1 ratio, but we are creating that by requiring number 5. If we don't require them to recombine the lots, then the 3-to-1 ratio isn't an issue.
And so,
Off my math.
all right, and so just for the record, that would be approving the lot split as requested with the following conditions: setback lines be in accordance with 1250.04, and that those be added to the survey drawings for both lots, that sewer and water are available to be connected. There are no floodplain impacts on this parcel per FEMA maps, and that the remaining parcels from the lot splits and the new parcels created by the split each be combined into a single parcel, since each contains a portion of these two sections 24 and 25. Would you have a time frame for the combination?
In the past, I think we requested that, I don't think we requested, I don't believe we put that it had to be completed, but it had to be started within, I think, 6 months of what we requested on other lot combinations, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
That is correct.
All right, so, and to be the lot combination to be started within 6 months.
Yes.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
A second from Mr. Loon. I am going to ask for a quick amendment to that motion.
You have to
That-
pass the motion first, don't you?
Now I'm gonna ask to move to amend the motion to include a waiver of the lot combination fees for these two gentlemen, since we are making it a condition of the lot split.
I would agree to that.
Sounds like a second. So let me do a roll call on the motion to amend the motion, on the amendment.
Okay, this is the amendment.
This is the amendment to add what I just
'Cause I
added to.
don't agree on both of these, so
Right.
I can
All
agree
right,
to
so-
the amendment.
Terry, did you catch that?
Yes, I'm running fast.
All right, so we'll have you do roll call on the amendment.
Okay, the amendment, roll call. Ms. McCreary,
Yes.
Mr. Looney,
Yes.
Mr. Mager,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson,
Yes,
Mayor. Do you vote, Mayor? Remind me, you don't vote, right?
Nope, I get to vote in this one. Yes.
Oh, okay. Super cool. 5 yeses, 0 nos.
All right. So now further discussion on the motion as amended.
I don't have any discussion. I just feel that we should comply with the recommendations before we move forward, but then that's my choice for vote, so
Mhm.
you can call for your vote.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, then we will have a vote on the motion as amended.
Ms. McCreary,
Yes.
Mr. Looney,
Yes.
Mr. Mager,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson,
No,
Mayor.
Yes.
4 to
All
1.
right. 4-1, the lot split will be, or lot split. Yeah, lot split will be approved with those conditions. All right.
I don't totally understand what's going to happen, what I have to do.
Call Terry in the morning.
Okay.
Call Terry in the morning.
I will.
That'll be the easiest way to solve that. All right.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. All right. Next on the agenda is the Kellner lot split. And you had the,
Yes, I got the power of attorney.
well, I was gonna say you had the benefit of seeing what's about to happen. Because that was our first one we've done in 6 years, so.
I wanted to be the first one, but that's all right. Okay, so that's the power of attorney for my grandmother.
Okay. All right, so you're putting this in as the power of attorney. All right.
Correct.
So I will, why don't we do this one a little, I should have done it this way. Terry, why don't you give us the overview?
All right, so Ms. Kellner is requesting a lot split. One parcel will contain her existing family home on Holder Road, which will be the 4.88 acres. And then the second one will be 2.593 acres, which has frontage on the Baltimore Somerset Road. The engineer reviewed all of everything and also has recommendations for this one also. Pretty much what we just talked about, that the setbacks be on the survey, and then we make sure that we confirm the existing home will meet the 40-foot rear yard setback for the proposed new parcel, and that no floodplain impacts on this parcel per FEMA map. That's what I have.
All right, here's what I'll say since you're here as power of attorney.
Correct.
I've looked at this power of attorney and it does authorize pretty much everything that I include in the power of attorneys I prepare regarding real property. So I am satisfied that you are here acting lawfully. I would ask though that, you know, shouldn't presume, but presuming this gets approved, just make sure Terry gets a copy of this so we can attach it, if it's not already.
You can have that copy.
We can have this copy? All right. So that way we can just attach it to the copy just in case someone 20 years down the road wants to say, did you have the power to do that? We got this. So,
You can have that.
but thank you. I am satisfied. We can hear what you have to say about this lot split.
I'm just here to get the lot split and be able to, I'm gonna assume the property and I'm gonna build on the 2.4 or whatever the actual amount is. And I think grandma's property will be 0.488, is that correct, Terry?
Yes.
And just to make sure that everything's coincided with that. That's all I have.
So I'll open this up to your guys' questions. I probably should have done this with the last one. So when we received the engineering stuff back, and that might have helped Roger's question here. The engineering recommendations include setbacks in accordance with 1254-04, and that a survey be included. And so 1254 would be the residential district that it's currently in, which is in R3. That the surveyor confirmed the existing home will meet the 40-foot rear yard setback for the proposed divided off parcel. Obviously, both water and sewer are available, and there's no floodplain impacts. So that's what the comments were from the engineer on that one. That
So
might
they're
have,
concerned that there's 40 feet of yard between her house and the green line. Is that correct?
Terry, is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the satellite photo, which is, it's the only thing we really have that shows anyone on the house. It looks like it's going to be close might be inside of that, but I don't know how much.
I don't know either. It's past the trees.
Okay,
So if you see the trees, it's a little bit past that. But I
right.
don't know what part of the house, is it the furthest part of the house? Because there's that little addition.
It'd be at the rearmost.
To the furthest part out from that, okay.
That's my only concern right there is that, you know,
Can I ask one more slightly legal question, just because that's me? And I don't have a problem with this split whatsoever, but I do notice the properties are owned by trustees and this is the power of attorney for her stuff and stuff. Are you the trustee as well?
I don't. She's the trustee,
She's the trustee.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you're the power
I'm
of
the power
attorney
for her.
for her,
Correct. Over everything.
which kind of puts you in there as trustee.
Yeah, maybe you're.
Maybe.
the-
This is one of those where it's not
All I
a,
know is
pro-
I can use that for whatever. I can go to the bank. I can
You
take
go to
out
the
loans, I
bank
can
and
do
stuff.
Whatever needs to be done on a daily basis.
okay. Okay,
So I'm looking at the zoning code and for R3, I think the minimum rear setback is 10 feet.
that is true.
So I guess there's not a concern then.
Yeah. Good catch.
well,
Would this be off of the old zoning code possibly?
This is
that very well might be.
Because we used to have
revised.
really weird setbacks.
Right, and I thought it might have been because of such a large lot, they,
Wanted extra, but it,
yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Yeah.
I guess my thing then would be, I mean, the 40-year, I guess yeah,
I mean,
that's,
it seems like it should comply with the zoning code setback.
yeah.
I just don't think.
Correct.
And I think that's okay to set, you know, hey, if we're going to approve this, just that it conforms with the appropriate zoning code development standards.
For that district.
Yeah. Yeah, for that district.
So that's R3 and Woods is R1.
Correct. Well, I'm looking, so,
That's what's listed.
yeah, let me look here.
This one is-
What is the question of what district this is? This is an R3 where he's going to build. That lot is in the R3 district.
Okay, that was just, they're very close together, but.
Yes, they
Rogers-
are, Kay, very close.
King separates us
yeah.
from the
Okay.
village.
Yeah,
I
I
guess-
had to look at it twice.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
What's King's?
Not that that matters, but yeah, I'm curious now. So that,
I think King is an R1 then.
okay, all right.
I guess, and I'll admit, I didn't look at this one as close as I did the other one, because that one was a lot more confusing. So just so I'm clear, let me. What we're talking about here is splitting off right here, and this is what you'll be, the split.
Yes, everything in yellow.
Everything in yellow will be split off of what's right in here.
Yes.
Okay,
From her. from
Right,
her-
residency.
yeah, from the
her home
existing.
On Holder Road.
Right.
Okay.
I guess, Terry, this is another
Okay.
item for us, because you'll have what, a little over 3 acres?
2.5, not even 2.5.
2.5,
2.5 in the one section.
0.593.
0.593.
2.5 total between these areas, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, 2.593 is in section 24.
well, that's the total acreage of everything in the yellow.
Oh, 1.8.
1.875
in
is,
section 4. Got it.
and then the 0.718 is in section 25 to give you just under 2.6 acres.
Okay.
I guess it's not going to affect yours because it's in an R3, but that's something we might want to look at if we start getting more of these lot splits.
What is the difference between R3 and R1?
So basically has to do with the development standards. Like your R3 has a minimum lot area of 6,500 square feet. So it's a very small lot compared to an R1, which is minimum lot area of 20,000 square feet, which you're going to far exceed at 2.5 acres. And so the R3 gives you a little closer setbacks because it's typically a smaller lot. So you can put a home a little bit closer to the property line than in an R1 where it's a much bigger lot. So Terry, that might be something we want to look at. We've got a map that says these are R3 areas, but should really be based on
Well, it sounds
on
like I'm
size.
in the R3 there because of King's R1 and Woods is R1, I'm R3.
Well, but
Right.
everything west of you
Everything else becomes
and,
R3?
and south of you is all, is R3.
Okay.
Yes. I have that down as an action item to review the districts in that area and further out east.
Yeah,
We can't go too far east. Corporation limit is there.
for now. But I mean, I don't want that to affect this lot split, but I mean,
No.
your property really should be, if the split's approved, that 2 acres really should be in R1.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But it is in R3 and we're splitting off in R3. And so typically when you split off, it maintains the same.
But you probably want to keep it in R3.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. The development standards are a little more forgiving.
Yeah.
And I bring it up for future. I don't want to penalize him because this is good for us. It's bad for the next person that comes in to split in R3 that we say you might have to be in R1, but I don't want to penalize him because it's bringing a potential issue with our development standards and it to light. So
No, he's got enough land there. I don't think he can build a large enough house to infringe on the setback.
He could try.
I wouldn't want to pay the taxes on it, but maybe he's got
Yeah.
better than I do.
So, all right. What other questions or anything do we have? I mean, other than complying with the appropriate residential district development standards, which would be in R3. I mean, the engineer's comments on this, water and sewer available, well, they're
Sewer's on that side, water's across the street.
so they're there. There's no flood in plain, so, you know, the engineer's comments here may more commentary than
Correct.
recommendations like the last one, so.
I just have a quick question, Mr. Carroll. So is your intention to build one house on this and you keep this lot this way? Or do you envision somewhere down the line that splitting this off and maybe selling off another lot down the road? Okay,
I'm gonna build right in the middle.
okay.
And he's just
So you
gonna-
like to mow grass?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I do for a living.
Well,
Okay.
he needs to leave room for the police car to pull off and have a place to park because the speeders.
He'll be able to park in the driveway.
Right now, they're parking in the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll open this up to questions because our caller is still on. Do you have any questions or comments on this one? It's close to your area, but not right next to you. Annette.
Gotcha. And are they plan on building on that?
Yes, single family home. Yep.
Now she's directly beside this property though, isn't she?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Now, will that, do they know how many of that, like where, like how many will be sectioned off for how many homes, or is it just gonna be the one?
This
Just
is
one.
home.
Oh, just the one? Okay.
One home that'll have a yard that'll make me jealous.
How far, like, I was trying to picture where it was cutting up. Will it butt up against Mr. King's lot?
The house or the property?
Yeah, kind of like the property, because of like wherever the house line, like the property line would go.
Yes, the house goes to, or the property goes to King's. We'll be 40, 50 foot off of King's side.
Okay.
She's east of King.
Yep.
And would that be, so then would that also then be owned by, on my side as well? Because I've always been confused of who even owned that field and stuff over there. That was so funny. It's so funny that this is happening because I've wondered that the whole time I've even lived here. Okay.
Yeah, so the property will stay your mom's for a while. You're going to build there and then eventually transfer to you.
No, I'm transferring as soon as this paperwork's done.
Okay.
That's it. We've been waiting patiently
Okay.
for this night.
Well, we appreciate your patience because as you heard me say, we haven't had any in 6 years and we get 2 at one time. Any other questions?
No, I guess not. No, was there ever any potential, like if I ever wanted to buy further over, would there ever, I was just kind of curious. If we ever wanted to go further over at all?
Well, that'd be this fella here.
Yeah,
No,
Because she's directly west of his property, the way I understand it.
yeah.
no, she's between King and Wood.
Well, she's also got a property. If you look at the parcel, it's directly west.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I was gonna say, I don't know, because if it's butting up against his grandma's yard.
Oh, right next door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right here.
Right on to the descent.
Yeah.
That'd be between you folks there.
Yeah, that's
That's not planning and zoning, right?
that's not us.
Okay. I was just kind of curious.
So, all right.
I do appreciate all you guys' time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining. Yes.
Yes, most definitely.
All right. Does anybody on the committee have any other questions, concerns? If not, is there a motion?
I move that we grant the lot split.
And they're all second that.
All right. I guess we don't really need to say subject to development standards because it's an R3 and it's already subject to them. So, all right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Did we get a second?
Ms. McCreary,
Yes.
Mr. Looney,
Yes.
Mr. Mager,
Yes,
Ms. Williamson.
Yes.
Dramatic pause.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'm writing notes. Sorry.
All right. So splits granted. It'll take Terry, I don't know, tomorrow or tomorrow's Friday
Here's
early.
next week. I'll have it done for you, Jamie.
Okay, I appreciate it.
And then you can get it
No
down,
problem.
go from there.
Okay.
Yep.
I got a
We'll
couple
talk
questions.
tomorrow. Thank you.
Out for this. My builder is family.
Mhm.
My lot prep is family, I should say. Does he have to have a contractor's permit to come in?
I will say yes if they're a
Yes.
contractor, but that sounds like a
Well, him and I
pre-development.
are doing it together, so, I mean, I don't have to have a permit, do I, when I'm doing my own work?
Yeah, to build, yeah, you'll have to get that.
For, well, lot prep, as in leveling out ground.
Potentially, depending on what you're leveling. So I would encourage you to set up a quick phone call or Zoom or in-person meeting with Terry to talk about that, because depending on, my understanding is depending on how much dirt is going to be moved.
That
will
is
depend
correct.
On whether or not you need a permit.
Okay.
And it might be easier to do that as part of as the build permit process versus doing it first and then coming back later to do a
Does that
build.
have to be another meeting for here?
Typically not.
Okay,
No,
Typically-
Jamie, that's the meeting that I told you about that you can call in. It would take about 15 or 20 minutes with
Okay.
that new build pack that I gave you.
Okay.
Okay?
I wasn't sure if it was that or the other permits
No.
and stuff I need to get.
No.
No, we just need to have our pre-build construction meeting and go through these issues.
Okay. All right.
right.
And somebody said you guys might talk about pools and ponds tonight. Is that still a possibility or are we? If it is, I'd like to stay. 'Cause I got-
You are more than welcome to stay to figure out. I don't know where we're going next because we got other things on the agenda. It's also 8 o'clock and sometimes after meetings like this, we'll delayed discussion, but you are more than welcome to stay.
Okay. Well, probably we'll just check out and then I'll get with Terry tomorrow and then.
You get with Terry. And if we end up discussing it, it's online, so you can, here's my plug for the Village YouTube channel. You can hop on there and watch the meeting.
All right.
There you go.
Can't interject anything at that point.
They can't.
Or what is said.
But on the flip side, I know we're not going to be making any decisions on anything like that tonight as well. So there'll be opportunities.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Terry. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, Jamie. Talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. When that is a good segue. Let me get off of that and so people aren't looking. Look at me for a minute. There we go. So that is a good segue to where do we want to go from here? Terry did send out there's some pool issues and pond issues to discuss. And of course, we got our list with fences, vehicles, driveways, and signage. It is 8 o'clock. For some of us, it's been a long day.
I think the swimming pool, Mayor, would be a quick discussion.
Okay.
If we want to just at least do this, because believe it or not, I'm still getting swimming pool permits. So I think this one, the draft that I sent out would be a quick discussion.
Could we then see that ponds is put into the place if we're, because it's not listed on our new business.
I know, it should have been swimming pool ponds.
Yeah, we were gonna kind of do it
Uh-huh.
together, and if we only do pools tonight, I don't want ponds to get overlooked, because I know
Yeah.
that
Yep.
Jamie is wanting a pond.
Right.
And I'd like something in place before any more ponds.
Right, and I
Right.
think that's going to be a long discussion too, and that's just the only reason I suggested we do the swimming pools, call it a night, and then next meeting start off with ponds.
Okay, I agree if we were gonna put ponds on, I just didn't want it to get overlooked.
Oh yeah. Oh no, because we're learning a lot about ponds.
Oh, yes.
There were none in the village for quite some time.
Yes.
There's been one back on Ballsville for a long time.
Well, but the corporation limit moved.
But I know that's in town.
It's in town now, but it wasn't before.
No, it's been, the one I'm talking
Well-
about, it's been. in town for a
Oh,
long
back there
time.
behind where Ireland's live.
No, it's south of that.
At Boston Park.
Well, it's back there just between Maple and where Ireland's lived. I guess it wasn't too far from Ireland, but back in there.
Yeah.
I was thinking, well,
But all right.
okay.
So we'll add ponds as its own item so that we
Okay.
make sure, and that'll be first topic of discussion next meeting. But then Terry, go ahead and take it away on pools here.
Okay, so what I did is try to make this a little better understandable, because sometimes we do the word, correct, and we have red lines through it, and I think it's hard to understand. So what I'm presenting to you is the way that I would like to see the swimming pool requirements rewrote or edited, and then I'll explain what I've inserted. So you'll see under B, and it's highlighted in yellow, and also at the end there are endnotes, and it talks a little bit about what this dealing with. So we changed this because currently it says that in our planning and zoning that the depth has to be less than 36 inches. You don't need a permit. In International Property Maintenance Code, however, it calls out 24. So where the issue comes is that I believe it should be the 24, because the whole reason that we're doing requirements for swimming pool and fences is for safety, number one. Number two, for my code enforcement guy, I need for him to be able to know which one do I go by. And this way it combines the code enforcement requirements into our zoning, and we're now one the same. So that is the first change, where we said we want the wall height or depth of less than 24 inches. Now, the reason why I inserted wall height is because I had I don't know how many minutes of conversation on the telephone, but the gentleman said that it didn't matter about the wall. He knew how much water he put in there. So what I wanted to put in, and that's why then I put the verbiage wall height in there. Obviously, then that will take away that argument. So I would like to have that inserted. The second thing I would like to have inserted in the yellow, you will see, pool shall be maintained in a clean and sanitary condition and in good repair. While I have a pool in town that I'm having issues with, and I could not find anything that I could use to hold the owner to getting it cleaned up. So this comes directly from the International Property Maintenance Code also, where it says that pools should be maintained in a clean and sanitary condition and good repair. So I would like to add that. Then item number 5, I've added this because this talks about a safety gate. When we talk about pools, we say it has to have a fence around it, and it's for safety. I have seen closures for gates of rope and twine, and because we had nothing that specified what the closure mechanism should look like, this again comes directly from the International Property Maintenance Code. So for instance, if we would get a call in a swimming pool, a complaint, and somebody would say they don't, they have this tied shut with a rope or a chain, we could go over and right here are the specifications exactly what that locking mechanism should be, and how we should be able to release it and close it. So those are the things that I would like to add to the, everything else stays the same. Everything you see that's not highlighted is currently what is in our swimming pool regulations, etc. But the items that I pointed out have become, over my last couple of years of doing the zoning, have become issues. So that's why I asked that the committee considers putting them into section 1272.17 of the swimming pool requirements, as I have written it there.
And I have one other suggested change in number 2, that pools be no closer than 15 feet to any lot line or easement. That creates it hard on some lots to actually have a pool, because if you need 15 feet on each side, you're now taking away 30 feet. If you got a 30-foot lot on some of the smaller lots, or a 40-foot lot, you have a kiddie pool as opposed to a regular pool.
A long lap pool.
Or a very long lap pool, yes.
So
But not a pool.
propose?
I think that why is a pool any different than an accessory structure as far as setbacks go?
Well, if there's a fence around it,
Mhm.
I think you want to split the difference somewhere, I think.
Well, but if we're putting a fence on the property line and my pool's inside the fence, what's the difference between whether it's a foot near the fence or 15 feet from the fence?
Okay, I'll go along with that. I
Yeah.
do have a point on the fence as well, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, that's when we get to fences. I mean, if you think about it like this too, you could build an accessory structure 2 feet off your property line and put a pool inside of it and be okay, because it's inside an accessory structure. We'd never know, and your pool's close. I don't understand why a pool has to
Much
be,
safer then.
yeah, why a pool has to be 15 feet from a property line, but an accessory structure 2 feet. Because it limits the placement of pools and the availability of people to get them.
And this is above my pay grade, which is there any safety issues that would make it a problem to have it closer to the property line? I can't think of anything, but
Not that I can think of, as long as you have your fence or your proper, barriers around it and stuff like that.
Do you know, Terry, how 15 feet got to be that? the amount in that?
Not in the planning and zoning rules and regs. Those were done before I got here. What I'm doing right now is I'm looking up on the International Property Maintenance Code to see what their recommendation is. But I agree, on a smaller lot, it would be hard to get anything but a skinny lap pool, definitely.
And if you take my lot and my pool as an example, placing it, if you go 15 feet off of each side, gave you one precise location offset from an accessory structure that it's sitting behind. So it doesn't fully allow for some flexibility. I mean, should it be on the property line like a fence? No, I agree with that, but I think 15 feet is too far off a property line.
I just wondered the same thing, why they said 15 feet.
I-
I can only assume it was for
And-
some safety reason. or
And
that's
that's-
what I'm
That's
wondering.
what I was thinking.
Yeah, and that's carryover from
But
the
if
old
you're
code.
requiring a fence, then
Right. The only other thing I can think of would be just annoyance to neighbors splashing water or something, but, you know, I'm trying to think of
Is,
worst case scenario.
yeah, but I mean, you know, if you're talking 2 feet versus 15
Right.
feet, and you're yelling and screaming, I'm not sure that the 13 feet
Yeah.
make that much of a difference.
Have you found anything there, Terry?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Not about how far off. The International Property Maintenance Code is really focused on safety. So to whoever said it, I'm not sure who said it. This, when they revised the planning and zoning codes, it was a carryover, not probably. It definitely was a carryover from the old codes, and that it might have been prior to requirement of a fence. And now we have that safety barrier of a fence. So that's the way I can explain it. International Property Maintenance Code does not say where it should sit on the property.
Well, what do you want to propose then? Maybe 5 feet? I don't think you want to be closer than 5 feet to the property line.
Well, I guess it would,
Well,
depend on a fence, because I could see someone wanting to put, you know, if you put up a privacy fence and maybe you just put a cinder block walk path down one side of it to keep it out of the center of your yard, so you still have a large portion of your yard to use, and it's sitting over there, you get 1 foot. I would like to see it set at the accessory structure.
I was going to say, we already have something in the design standards that talks about setbacks. I'm for not reinventing the wheel and maybe using those as guidelines for each one of the districts.
Because then it stays uniform, stays consistent.
I think for the uniformity, that makes sense.
so what is the setback in your,
An R3 setback
Would be side yard 2 feet.
2 feet from the side yard, 2 feet from the rear.
Mr. Mayor, yours a R3 or an R2?
I am
I bet you, I'm not sure, but I bet you might be an R3.
I might actually be an R1.
1? Okay, so let me tell you what R1 is.
Nope, it's an R3.
Okay.
I thought it was an R3.
I
Let
knew
me
someone
doubt myself.
thought
I was looking
Pretty
at
size,
the color, but it's cross hatched, so it's an
Yeah.
R3.
That is correct, it's crosshatched.
I'm okay with keeping with uniformity and using the existing setback numbers.
Accessory
Fine.
structures.
Yes.
So for R1, the accessory setback to the side yard would be 10 feet. The accessory setback from the rear would be 25. So again, it does there, you know, we do have those in our development standards. And I think those could be applicable if the committee feels that
what
way.
about what about the R3? The mayor's.
That was 2 feet.
You know, it's 2 feet on the sides and 10 on the rear, I believe.
No, I think you said 2 on the rear or 10 on the
On
rear.
accessory structures too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, my concern is somebody climbs your fence and falls off the top of it.
Mhm.
Is 2 feet gonna be far enough away for them not to fall into your pool and drown? That's all.
I
That's
think
what
you're
I'm-
talking about the space between the fence and the pool.
I know, yeah.
Okay, not the pool and the set and lot
Well, you-
line.
Right, that'd be if the pool's on the property line, or if
The fence is on the property
instead
line.
of around the pool.
And your pool is 2 feet away from the top of the fence, can they fall into your pool in 2 feet? Our ultimate goal is safety.
Mhm.
That's my,
You mean like fall directly into the pool? Like-
they fall off the fence into the pool.
Well, we don't have a measurement somewhere that a pool has to be, the fence has to be so many feet from the pool.
No, but we're saying if
he's
the
trying to
accessory
maximize the
structure,
property.
Right.
it would be the minimum, the closest it could be, because the fence, well, when we get there, the fence could be on the property line and the accessory structure and the pool could be 2 feet from that.
From the line.
So you would have 2 feet between your fence and pool.
What I'm saying is, instead of having a fence around the property, let's say you had a fence.
Well, I'm
around
just
the pool.
saying, this
Mhm.
could be a scenario, do we want to be liable for,
Right, well, what I'm saying is, same thing though, if we're saying 2 feet is too close to the property line because of the fence being on the property line, do we need to have something that says, if you just have a fence around the pool, that it is at least 4 feet from it? That's
Right.
where I'm getting.
And Mr. Mager, to your point, on West Market Street, we do have a pool and they chose to put the fence around the outside of the pool. I believe it's a 6 foot all the way around. So you're correct. If somebody would scale up that fence, the pool would be right on the other side. But that is allowed in our,
that is allowed.
it is allowed in the fence, yes. It says either
And we-
around the pool or around the property.
Right, and we don't have a measurement that it has to be X numbers of feet from, away from the pool.
No, that is correct.
For instance, the one that is being built around my pool is 3 feet
Okay,
from the pool,
But it's not on the property line.
but not on the property line.
So you do have enough room.
I do.
I feel like that problem is a fence height problem and not a distance between the fence and the pool or the fence and the lot line problem. Because if they're gonna scale the fence, whether or not the fence is close to the pool wouldn't change the risk of them drowning.
Okay, so right now, and that's a good point, and maybe that's a section of this that we change. Right now, it says a wall or fence shall not be less than 5 foot in height with an operable gate. So maybe we could raise that requirement to address both these issues.
To keep
That
it
would
at
be number 4 on the page that you have. We could raise that to say 8 feet.
No, we can't.
no,
6 feet.
6 feet's our maximum fence height pursuant to our zoning code.
Look
So we
at
can
that.
move it to, we can move it to
Right.
6 feet.
We
that's what
can
I'm
move it
looking
to
for.
6.
What is the IPMC?
Excuse me.
I think that was one where our code was more stringent than the IPM. I think the IPMC was like 48 inches.
Yeah, I think they were a 4-foot
Yes.
barrier.
Okay, now, let me back up one. Our fence heights in the fence section 1272.05, these fence requirements shall not apply to fences around private family pools. In such cases, 1272.17 applies. So that's a different requirement there. And I'm getting there. I'm not that quick.
And that's the one where it says 5 feet. Shall not be less than 5 feet, but doesn't give a maximum height.
So that 6 foot doesn't apply there.
Doesn't apply. There has to be at least 5.
Right.
So if we're going for uniformity,
Yeah. So they can put in a 10-foot backstop there.
I mean, I guess one could argue if you're putting a fence around just a pool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would be good with that. And whoever asked the question, it is only 48 inches high in the International Property Maintenance Code. The fence, no less than. So if we want to increase the height of the fence, I think it's a good idea. And point well taken.
Well, do we need to raise the height of the fence? I mean, the thing is, you cannot outlaw stupidity. Somebody's gonna scale a fence.
Sure.
What's the pool fence of the public pool?
good question.
Probably 8 feet. I think it's.
I think they're 8 feet, 8 or 10, one or the other.
That'd be one of those instances where we made the rules.
Yeah.
Though I think that one is probably, well, yeah, I don't know. That one's taller.
Yeah, it's either 8 or 10.
Okay, but we're back, we started with changing the setback
Mhm.
on the pool. So we need to go back and decide, are we going to leave it at 15 feet or are we going to change it to the setback of a auxiliary structure in the,
I'm okay with all of them except for the 2 feet. I do think about, with the nature of my business, I think about kids scaling a fence. And if you have a pool that's 2 feet, and I live in a neighborhood with lots of children, I do think that only being 2 feet off a fence can pose a potential problem.
So what? number
If
would
five,
you
if you have a,
I was gonna say-
if you have a fence of 5 feet, I'm saying.
Yeah.
I can see someone, a child trying to climb that, which they would scale it. And if you have a pool directly on the other side of it. So I don't know, the only one that I have on 2 feet, that's my issue. I think if we could make that one 5 feet, I
yeah,
think that's a
instead of
safer distance
15,
than
go
2
to
feet.
5.
I'm okay with that.
I think all of the
Yeah.
other ones are fine, except for the R3 at a 2 foot. I'd like to change that and amend that to 5 feet. So to at least keep that at a
Well,
safer distance.
I like it being further off the property line, so.
No closer than
No
5
closer
feet.
than 5 feet.
And is that for all districts then? We could say that?
Mhm.
Because like in R1, it's 10 feet.
I mean, I think
And I'm just going for because I'm trying to figure out how,
I think 5 feet would be fine. I think that's gonna be more
Mhm.
plausible, and I think
Well-
safety wise.
Well, how about we compromised and said 5 feet or the property requirements for accessory structure, whichever is greater.
Greater.
Well, whichever meets the needs of the occupant.
But I just don't think this is gonna accomplish what you're going after though, because you're looking for distance between the fence and the pool,
Yes.
not distance between the fence and the lot line.
No.
No, we're not
Distance
dealing with the
between the
fence.
pool and the fence.
But the change that you're talking about making is changing the language between the pool and the lot.
I'm
Right.
wanting to change the language between the fence, which now we know fences
Well-
can go directly on the lot line.
well, eventually they will. But I see what he's getting at. You don't have to put a fence on your property line. You can put a fence just around the pool.
But then somebody has to trespass onto your property to get to the wall to climb over, as opposed to on the lot line, they can be standing on their property, scale the fence, fall the 2 feet into the pool.
But you're
They're
talking
still-
about
they're-
the
they're still-
legal-
They're still trespassing if they climb the fence on
Yeah.
my property, even if it's on the lot line. It's still a trespass.
Okay,
Again, you cannot.
I'd like it
Yeah.
further from the lot.
But
line. I'm sorry.
as long as we do consistent, if we just, on one hand, there's 5 feet or 5 feet or whatever your accessory structure setback is, whichever is further.
Why not just make it 5 feet uniformly?
That's what I'm saying is if 5 feet's good in an R3, if someone wants to do a 5 foot one in an R1, why do we care on an R1 versus an R3 if we're going to set it at 5 feet?
Well, I think if you're in an R1 area, if mine is an R1 lot, my doghouse can't be closer than 10 feet from the property line, their pool should be at least that as well. My neighbors. So I think we ought to do,
But-
I'm okay with the 5 foot minimum on like an R3, but I like the idea of 5 foot or the property requirements, whichever is greater.
You can throw your pen at me if I start going law school professor on you. So your argument is on an R1, if my doghouse can't be closer to the fence, to the lot line than 10 feet, my pool shouldn't be able to be closer. But in an R3, my doghouse can be 2 feet from the lot line, but my pool has to be 5 feet away.
Right.
Please reconcile that discrepancy for me.
Well.
No dog houses, no pools in the entire valley. We're done. Okay.
There we go.
Go swim.
That's where I'm struggling with.
Well, the
Go to the
difference
public
was the safety
That's why we have
because of the issue. It's just a safety issue,
Oh.
and that's strictly the reason for it. It has nothing else to do with it, but safety in my
Unless you
mind.
have Cujo.
Okay.
I don't,
And that's a good reconciliation of the difference.
so. I mean, what's anybody else's thought?
No, I'm still sticking with the minimum of.
I'm going to the public pool. I don't swim.
But do you want, are you talking about adding something that says there needs to be a certain amount of distance between the fence and the pool? Because otherwise, what's the point of saying it has to be at least 5 feet versus 2 feet?
5 feet from the, you're saying from the lot line.
Yeah.
Well, right now it says that it can be no closer than 15 feet to any lot line or easement. 10
Right,
feet
so-
to a principal building.
But we get back to you're only putting a fence around your pool.
I see what he's
It can
saying.
be- And it can be right on it.
Yep,
But again, that's actually on your property.
right.
Um,
So they're encroaching
So.
on the property,
Yeah,
trespassing.
But again,
That's not gonna
again,
stop them.
I know.
It's somewhat semantics, but I
The
Personally, I
number,
don't think it's
Yeah.
necessary to say it has to be at least 5 feet. I don't know. Just to me, it just seems like we could go by the accessory setbacks and that would be just fine.
I think because for me personally, if someone puts a fence around their yard and they butt the pool right up to their fence, and someone of whatever age crawls up over that fence and falls, either way, it would be a horrible tragedy. But I'm thinking the number of people that are putting up a fence around their yard is much greater than those who are just putting the fence only around their pool. I could be wrong.
No, that's
but
a
I-
correct statement.
But I think in general, most property owners are choosing to put the fence around on their property line. That's my reasoning.
anybody?
I think I made my point, and
Huh?
I'm satisfied with that.
How about a motion?
I have a question about another section.
Okay,
What recourse do we have as a municipality if someone's pool is not maintained in a clean and sanitary condition and in good repair?
we can now write them up on, you mean if this isn't in this?
No, we put this in here.
Yes.
And then if somebody doesn't comply, what
Right.
recourse does the village have?
We cite them for a code violation. And then they have 10 days to clean up and get it into the correct condition, or they are summoned into mayor's court.
Okay,
So we do have, by having it here, I do have the ability to do that, enforce it.
And Terry, just for clarification on the
Sure.
Self-closing, self-latching gates,
Mhm.
that would require a fence around a yard to have basically a spring-loaded gate on it.
This is what the International Property Maintenance Code stipulates. Yes. I mean, if we think that's too nitty gritty, I guess we could change it. I would like to be consistent. But it's up to committee.
I have no problem with that.
I think number 5 is a crucial part of the safety consideration.
I do too.
Agreed.
if they can afford the pool, they should be able to afford the correct latch to main.
Correct.
I'm okay with that. I do have two other maybe nitpicky things I think we need to possibly adjust on this before we make a motion on. On
Okay.
bullet point number 4, says any private family pool or the entire lot on which the pool is located shall be enclosed by a fence or by a wall or fence, a minimum of at least 5 feet high. And just like we need to adjust that wording because we're not allowing a 5-foot high fence in the front of a property.
Oh, it says already that it has to be, and behind the principal structure
Right,
in number 2.
the pool has to be.
Yeah.
They're saying,
So the
they're
fence,
saying.
Where you says
they're
or
talking
on
about
the entire
fence on
lot.
number
You're
4.
saying the entire
They're
lot
saying that the entire lot,
Yeah, okay.
minimum
would
of 5 feet.
would imply the front yard as
Right.
well.
Okay,
So we-
but the way Ken, we have that specified is that the fence permit is a separate permit from the pool, and it says specifically on the fence permit that you cannot put that large a fence in the front of the pool. I mean, in the front of the property. So when they get their permits, they'll have a fence and a swimming pool. But we can change this verbiage if you want. I'm just pointing out that will be pointing out in their fence
the
permit.
fence permit will catch them,
Yes.
will control it.
Well, the fence permit could catch them. I like Ken's idea though of modifying that to remove that, entire lot because it's not the entire lot.
Oh,
Because I could come in representing someone and make a very good argument that says, I don't care what your fence permit says. My client's putting a pool in the backyard and your pool regulation says the entire lot has to be enclosed by a fence of not less than 5 feet. So they're putting a 5-foot fence in their front yard.
so we are just eliminating the word entire?
Well, what I was thinking is we could say the entire rear portion of the entire lot behind the structure.
No, that would be
Why don't-
Rear
I
lot.
don't know the right way to do the verbiage.
not entire, but
But.
Or the portion of the lot
Yeah.
on which the pool is
And
located.
the rest of it would fall under the fence
Mhm.
provisions of the zoning code.
Yep.
And I say, someone smarter than I would tell you the proper way to word that,
Oh, okay.
portion of the lot.
okay? And the other point I had, if we can move on, would be in at the top where under B, where it says, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but the last line was, pool shall be maintained in a clean sanitary condition and in good repair. Instead of that being in B, I think that should be a separate bullet point.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
because the rest of it talks about wall height and stuff, and that is, yeah.
Okay,
I
So
like
could be
that.
Number 8.
8,
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
that seems like the
So-
summary statement.
At that point, then I'm satisfied with everything.
Okay.
Except what did we decide on the distance? Did we say 5 feet for everything, or did we say 5 feet or accessory structure, whichever is greater? I don't know that we came to a consensus on that.
You know where I stand on it, so.
Okay. No closer than 5.
I'm okay with the 5 feet.
all the way around.
all the way around.
For R1, R2, and R3.
Yeah.
And I'm okay if that's what everybody else.
Yeah,
agrees
no,
to.
I'm okay.
Well,
with
I'm
that.
just thinking of, and I'm not R1, but maybe an R1 person doesn't want their neighbor to have a pool that close to them.
And that was my thought, you know. But if everybody else wanted to agree with it, I would go along.
I'm good either way because it's a lot closer than 15 feet
Yeah, yeah, I mean. that's-
on the smaller lots.
I still like the 5 feet or the setback, whichever is greater.
Or the auxiliary structure setback.
Yes,
And, you know, we can, again, this is a living document, so we can try that. And if Terry starts to get a lot of variance requests from R1s and R2s that want to move the pool closer, we can always reevaluate.
What do you think about that, Terry?
I'm good. I'm good. I like it.
I hope I'm not complicating things too much.
You are not, sir.
Another thing that, in reference to the 2 versus 5, which I think we've come to the consensus that we all agree on 5 rather than 2.
Mhm.
If your pool overflows, 2 feet doesn't give you much yard to absorb the excess water before it gets to your neighbor.
Oh, that's
Whereas
true.
5 gives you a little more.
Good
Yeah.
point.
Which I have a concern about the new leaf ordinance. My leaves stay out of my storm sewer better if they're in the street than if they're in my yard, because the storm sewer's in my yard. Off the subject though, sorry.
I don't think that's something we thought about because most of them
No.
have been there, and most of them
Mine-
aren't.
I'll say you have one too, don't you?
No, mine's out in the street.
Or is it? Is someone
It's-
along here has got one in their yard?
Yeah.
Mine is down in the yard because I trim around it every time I mow, and if I put my leaves there, they will definitely go into the storm sewer with the family of raccoons that live there. But
Add that to the list, Terry, because that's something, because most of them are in the street. We didn't, but there are some. And I'm thinking of a couple others now that are in the yards. Yeah.
do I have to file a variance to put my leaves in the?
No. All right.
I think I've done a good job of not.
All right. So move that to 8. Do we want to? Well, let me ask this, Terry.
Do we wanna-
We've got this, but we know any zoning code change needs a public hearing. We're going to have ponds next week or
Correct.
next meeting.
Do them both at the same time?
You know, should we? I think it would be best to hold off on voting on this to send it to council right now until we get another 1 or 2 changes, and that way we can have one public hearing instead of scheduling public hearing after public hearing after
Sounds
public
good.
hearing.
I think
So-
that's perfect. I like it.
So we can go to the pond next month?
So we can go to the pond next month, which is a good segue to our next meeting is actually currently set for Veterans Day. So I think we should either move it up a week or back a week. It's, you know, a recognized holiday in the village and for veterans, and people are off and there are events that some of us may be attending.
Okay, so we're looking at the 4th or the 18th. The 4th is Diwali. I don't know how many people are celebrating that in the village. So we're talking the 18th, the Thursday before Thanksgiving.
The 4th or the 18th, whichever y'all are good with. The 4th gives us the conversation for ponds a little quicker. But it is only 2 weeks out.
I'm good either way.
Yeah, it was good to talk about ponds tonight. As long as we don't have, I mean, the 4th is listed on my phone as Diwali, which is a religious holiday for some folks. I don't know if anyone here recognizes that. I do not, but I didn't want to be neglect to ignore it.
So basically, we're just tabling the swimming pool till next meeting, then it'll be rewritten
it-
all the revisions.
Right, I will have it with all the revisions in it for you, Mr. Mager, at the next meeting.
Okay,
That we
that'd be
discussed
great.
tonight.
That makes this to approve much easier.
Yep.
Okay.
Brittany, Robert, you guys good on the 4th?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Conferences or anything like that?
No, conferences for me are on the 11th.
Okay.
I'm just like, there's something in my head. I'll figure it out.
The 18th works for me too, so I think
Terry, is your calendar good with the 4th?
Yes, either one of them I'm good with, the 4th or the 18th. The 4th is probably better only because I know Mr. Carroll wants to put in a pond. And I think we're going to have a lot of discussion over the pond. And I think we may need more than one meeting to get to a final document, because currently there is nothing in our zoning. So we'll be starting from scratch or that.
Terry, did you see the article that was in the paper about vegetation that is appropriate for round ponds?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Okay, I say that I'll drop it. Well,
I'm okay with the
Great.
4th.
Okay.
4th at 7, all right.
Yeah.
Fourth?
Yep, so we'll do the 4th at 7 PM. Item number 1,
Swimming pools, number 2 ponds.
well, I think with swimming pools, we could probably move to old business just because it'll be a review
okay.
of the updated changes. And then the number 1 item
Would be ponds.
would be ponds.
And then on
Okay.
down the,
Yep.
okay.
Perfect.
Ponds scare me. I just,
Hey, Terry, because there's a lot with ponds, and I know we've received some information regarding permits and size and EPA stuff. Can maybe
That's written.
early next week,
Okay.
can you and Barb get that out to everybody in the committee so that we've got a
chance to-
solid week to go through? Because I know there's a lot of material there, so that we got a solid week and a half to go through all that.
All of that material is contained in that document that I sent out called Ponds.
Okay.
Okay.
If
Cool.
you want some more, if you want something else that you think it's not there between now and the 4th, shoot me an email and I'll do any research you want.
Okay.
It includes the specifications of the licensed professional engineer.
Yes,
engineering Plans. It doesn't state who the respective authorized agencies would be. It's the only thing that's in-
well, it should be, if it doesn't call it out, it should be implied. It would be the Village of Baltimore and the EPA.
Oh, okay. They didn't. Okay, up here.
A part of the permitting process, you'll see they start with us, go to the EPA, and then come back to us.
Okay.
All right. So ponds number 1 next
Got
meeting.
it. Got it.
All right. Any other business at this time?
No, I.
Make the motion, Kay. Make the
I move
motion.
that we adjourn.
All right.
I'll
Second,
that.
second by Mugger. All in favor, say aye. All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Unanimous voice vote, 8:47. We are adjourned.
Are we turned off?
Not yet. I'm getting there.
Terry,
Yes, sir.